But then again, it's only a weekly podcast as opposed to podcasts that go every single day. And if you're one of those people that do that or want to do that, I salute you. Because at this point, I don't know if I could do that. And I'm not just talking about the motivation thing. I mean, coming up with things to talk about. And this week I had to start recording and producing this podcast a day early because my schedule for the week does not allow me to do any real last-minute editing. So, buckle up. Now, you know what? I know exactly what I want to rant about this week. Society sucks. In a variety of different ways. Let's start with this. Jackasses that text while they drive. Those people are the absolute worst. I really cannot imagine people who not only feel the need to be looking at their phone screens and texting away or doing some other dumb stuff with their phone and not pay attention to the road in front of them. It's really nauseating. Really, really freaking nauseating. It's very tempting to do that. I am aware of that. But the only thing your phone should be used for while you're driving is for navigation. And even then, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself swerving back and forth throughout the lanes, and then, God forbid, you are going to crash into something or someone. So when I hear news stories every day or read things on the internet that revolve around teens or adults crashing and, God forbid, killing themselves while they are on their phones texting, it just infuriates me to no end. How can you be that irresponsible? I just don't understand it. Especially when in 2017, there is technology in your phone that allows you to do things hands-free. For example, I have an iPhone 6S. If I wanted to, if it was absolutely necessary, I could put my phone on speakerphone and talk to the person on the other line without ever having to touch my phone or look down on it. And that's if it's absolutely necessary. I don't do that while I'm driving. Unless it's like an emergency, like it's a family member. But that is it, and even then, not really. Oh, but the worst part is when there are people out there that have this habit, get into an accident, and then have the nerve to try to blame the other person in the accident. When half the time, the person in the accident was driving responsibly. Like, that's just one of the most insulting things I can think of in this world. Friends, folks, don't text and drive. Just don't freaking do it. It's not worth it. If you absolutely need to, pull over. Like, it's really not that hard to pull your car over, shut it off, and then do whatever you need to do on the phone, whether it's make a call or text somebody if you really need to. But don't do it while you're driving. Just don't. Like, I'm a neurotic mess already, especially when it comes to driving, because as much as I am a good driver, I don't always feel comfortable, especially when I'm going to a place where I'm not familiar with its location, and I need to rely on my phone navigator. And I don't have the luxury of looking down on it. So I'm basically putting my trust in an app to lead me to where I need to go safely. And yet there are jackasses out there that will freely look down at their phones away from the road, text away, or do whatever they need to do, and that'll be the end of that. Because the reality is, if you decide to text and drive, you are no better than that person who decides to drink and then drive. And I'll tell you, I really don't know which one is worse, the person that texts and drives or the person that drinks and drives. Both are equally bad. And I'll tell you, I think I understand people who drink and drive even less than those that decide to drink and drive. Because at the very least, if you're texting, there's a decent chance that you're at least sober and your reflexes are still good. If you're drunk, no, you have no chance. If you're drunk, your reflexes, they plummet pretty much with the first drink. You don't think as clearly as you do when you're sober if you're drunk. And you move and think a lot slower. And no, I'm not speaking from experience. I don't drink, and I never have any intention of drinking. I will never have a drop of liquor as long as I live. I just don't care for it. Now, people do drink out there, and if that's something you enjoy, that's one thing. I'm not going to sit here and say people shouldn't drink ever. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, if you're going to drink, don't get behind the damn wheel. It's as simple as that. Don't get behind the damn wheel. It's just not worth it. Like, it's really not worth it to get yourself hammered and then get behind the wheel, because no, there is no chance in hell, no matter how high your alcohol tolerance is, there's no chance in hell that you are going to be able to drive coherently. You're just not. Chances are you're going to crash your car and get into a major accident. Like, do people not understand these risks when they go out and have a drink? I'm bad enough behind the wheel as it is. The last thing I need to be doing is gulping some alcohol down and getting on the road. That's why I'm never going to touch alcohol. I'm just not. And I know, from the bottom of my heart, I know I am not going to be able to handle my liquor. I do know people in my life who drink, both casually and more aggressively. And I seriously, honestly don't know how people do it. How they can just sit down, take a glass of wine or a bottle of beer, and just drink it. I don't understand how they can do it. I've seen what alcohol can do to a person. It can change you, and not really for the better. So if you're someone who can drink, and it doesn't really screw you over, or change the person you are, then more power to you. Really. Because I believe in my heart that I can't do that. If I even think about touching alcohol, it will screw me up big time. And I've already seen firsthand what alcohol can do to a person and to a relationship. I just do not want anything to do with it in my life. Hell, I won't even drink root beer. That's how conscious I am. That's how self-conscious I am about this. I won't even touch root beer. Now, I don't expect that I would actually like root beer either, but that's not the point. Now, one thing I want to be careful about while doing this podcast is making myself come off as a know-it-all, or a jerk, or a brainiac, or anything like that. I am none of those things. I don't know everything. I barely even know anything. Please, just because I graduated college does not mean I know everything. Nor does it mean I want to. There are some secrets that are just better off not being known. All this podcast is designed to do is to just give me an outlet to express my opinions on things, and to give myself an outlet to keep my sanity, given my present circumstances. And I hope this podcast serves that purpose. If you happen to come across one of my episodes and you like what I talk about and you take something positive out of it, great. That's great. Only good things can come from that. But don't feel obligated to do so if you don't agree with what I'm saying, or you're just not someone who's looking for advice in any respect. That's fine too. These are all just my opinions, and this is just an outlet for me to put them out there. Please do not look at this as the word of law or anything to that extent. This is not what this is supposed to be. If you enjoy alcohol, if you enjoy beer or wine, enjoy it. That's your thing. I'm just saying that I don't, and I don't foresee myself being in that group that enjoys it. But this episode isn't about just alcohol or the dangers of alcohol. No, I started it as a rant about things that people do in life today that really just annoy me. You want to know something else that just really, really irks me and probably puts me in the minority? You know when you're sitting in a restaurant and you're enjoying your food and you're just having a nice time with the people you brought with you, and then all of a sudden you hear this ear-piercing screech from 2 tables down? Yeah, that really gets on my nerves. And it probably makes me a jerk to say that, but it does. And look, I am not an idiot. I know that when it comes to families and newborn children or very young children, it is hard to corral them and get them under control because they are still young. They are learning. But what really, really pisses me off is when the family just doesn't pay attention. Yeah, I can tolerate a screaming child if the family is like actually trying to calm them down and get them to be quiet. But then you have these parents, these families that just let the kids scream and screech and whine and complain on and never even look in their direction. Like literally just the other day, I had this experience and it pissed me off to no end. So I took my mother out to a Mother's Day dinner along with my father. 2 tables back, there was this really loud screaming child sitting with a mother and a father. Now, that's all fine and good. It usually isn't that bad in the beginning, especially when the parents are trying to calm them down. But it just kept going on and on and on and on, and the child would not be quiet. But the parents seemed completely and utterly oblivious to it. Like, really? And I really don't see how you can get away with the excuse of, oh, we were just trying to ignore it, so maybe the child will calm down. Okay, fine, but that's something that seems like it should be settled at home. When you're in a public place, it really doesn't work like that, because other people are going to be annoyed. And you do have to think about the other people and their feelings and their personal space. You can't really just shrug off a child when they're screaming, especially when they don't stop. Because otherwise, the only thing you're doing is making yourselves look lazy, unattentive, and uncaring. And really, if you're a family of newborns, do you really want that reputation? Something tells me you wouldn't want that reputation. Honestly, I'm scared enough at the possibility of one day being a father, and I wouldn't want to be known as a father who doesn't pay attention to their child when they're crying and whining and needing attention. I wouldn't want to be that kind of father. So it really pisses me off when I come across parents that walk in to a restaurant or a grocery store with a crying child and don't even make any attempts to give that child attention or just get them to stop crying. It really pisses me off. Because then I'm annoyed having to listen to that crying. Other people are annoyed from having to listen to that crying. And as parents, you look really bad for that. So I don't understand why you would want that reputation. It just really pisses me off and baffles me to no end. And that's just 3 things that I could think of that piss me off in real life and everyday society. You know what else bugs me? You know when you get those stupid phone calls when you're at home and you think it's someone important, but then when you answer, it turns out to just be a crank call? And I'm not talking about like those people that will hang up and tell a stupid, unfunny joke just to get a reaction out of you. No, I'm talking about people that impersonate like this big, significant company and they try to coax you into giving them personal information that they're probably going to use to screw you over in some way. Yeah, those are the type of phone calls that I just can't stomach. It really, really pushes my buttons, especially lately, because I get those calls every single day, at literally every hour of the day. And it's literally the same people, or the same scams, I should say, every single day. Now, in the interest of privacy and not getting myself in trouble, I'm going to decline to actually name any specifics simply because I fear that there may be legal retribution if I attempt to name any names. But yes, every day, pretty much every hour, it's the same kind of pranks, it's the same kind of scams, over and over and over. And the really funny part is, once you catch on to them, and you ask questions to try to catch them into a trap, they hang up the phone. They literally hang up the phone. Because they cannot handle being exposed. At this point in time, I can't even get upset at it anymore. I can't even get mad. I just laugh. However, what I will say is this. There is always a tell, at least with me, whenever there is a scam or prank phone call. Literally every time after I say, hello, and I await a response, there's always a phone beep that comes before the person on the other line starts talking. That's how I've been able to tell that every prank call, every scam that I've gotten has been a scam. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that is the tell for every single prank call or scam call that you get. I am only speaking from personal experience, but if you are having the same issue as me, that could be something for you to look for, so just keep that in mind. Beyond that, though, I'm not exactly sure what to tell you in the realm of actually dealing with it and making it stop. I mean, I don't know who exactly you would call for this type of situation. Unfortunately, the reality is most of these scams use a burner phone, because several times I have tried to use the *69 format in trying to track down these people who keep harassing us, and every single time it came up as the number is disconnected. So yeah, it's kind of a problem to deal with, and it's really annoying. And I have time for one more little complaint to issue before I end this podcast for this week. One thing that really grinds my gears and annoys me to hell and back. You know, at sporting events, when they'll get someone or a group to sing the national anthem before the game? You know what I really hate? When the singing sucks. And trust me, I have seen national anthem singers up close and personal, and boy, I have heard some really bad ones. Especially when it's a young group. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm picking on little kids. I mean, they are little kids, so it's really not fair. But that doesn't make it any easier to listen to. And boy, am I going to sound like a jerk for this. But you know what? It's my podcast, so oh well. And that's just about going to do it for this edition of The Vent. Thanks for taking a listen. Thanks for giving me about 30 minutes of your time for the week. It's been a pleasure doing this for the past 6 weeks, and hopefully this goes on for a very, very long time.